I am Qi Hui, having grown up in the mountains, accustomed to the tranquility and poverty there. One day, unexpectedly, I was adopted by a wealthy couple who brought me to the bustling metropolis. The delicacies in high-end restaurants, the luxury of designer clothes, and a full set of expensive electronic devices. These were things I had never imagined would enter my life. Even their biological daughter didn't receive such excessive pampering. However, 2 years later, they turned me into a stupid and obese good-for-nothing, then callously sent me back to the impoverished and backward mountain village. In that frigid mountain I died alone. As my soul drifted in the air, I finally understood that it was all their conspiracy. The life with Wang Li and her husband once seemed like paradise to me. Wang Li would always appear with a beaming smile, pushing a cart full of desserts in front of me. Qi Hui, today there's your favorite tiramisu soy milk cake, as well as durian milk crepes and double skim milk. In my previous life I would have declined shyly, but under her gaze stuffed all of them into my stomach. Eventually I was fattened into a stupid and clumsy fatty, reviled by others. All of this was recorded by a phone camera and live-streamed. Comments in the live-streaming room began to abuse. Eat, eat, eat. Sooner or later, you'll turn into a big fat pig. In just half a year she's forgotten her roots. Human nature is truly terrifying. I lowered my eyes, filled with overwhelming hatred. Wang Li and her husband, this highly educated couple, actually created a real-life Truman Show. They took an orphan from the mountain village to the big city, let me experience a glittering new world, then turned me into a useless person and sent me back to the poor mountain village. They even secretly set fire to the small house I relied on for survival, and I froze to death on the steep mountain peak. They casually said, after only 2 years in the city, she can't adapt to rural life anymore. Behold, this is the ugly and fragile human nature. Netizens went into a frenzy, critically dissecting human nature. She has no princess-like destiny but acts like a princess. She probably doesn't even remember her own surname. Clearly an orphan from the mountains, yet so delicate. Wang Li and her husband reaped both fame and fortune, stood on the podium of the education sector's award ceremony, and were adored by others. And at the moment of my rebirth, I returned to the time half a year after I was first brought here by them. Wang Li smiled sweetly and held the tiramisu to my lips, but malice flashed in her eyes. Qi Hui, eat quickly. These are things you couldn't get in the mountains, so you must finish them all. Don't waste any. Their biological daughter, Xieli, glared at me resentfully. Her diet was strictly controlled, and she was never allowed to freely indulge in various desserts. I took the small cart cautiously and whispered, Aunt Wang, I'll eat them right away. She looked at the fat around my waist with satisfaction and said, these are things you couldn't get in the mountains, so you must finish them all. Don't waste any. After she left, I handed the cake to Xieli. Her eyes lit up, and she snatched it and stuffed it into her mouth. Cream smeared all over her mouth, she gobbled it down and said, you're smart. Don't tell my mom about today, got it? I nodded submissively. Hatred filled Xieli's eyes. My mom is biased. I'm her real daughter after all. From that day on, Xieli thought she could manipulate me at will, and her audacity grew in private. The high-calorie desserts and various late-night snacks Wang Li gave me were all snatched away by her, and she also demanded every penny of my pocket money. Xieli pulled my ear, dragged me to the corner and threatened in a low voice, little bastard, you'll go to school for me from now on. Don't say anything you shouldn't. Understand? In fact, although I received poor education in the mountains, I never gave up studying until I was brought to the city. Wang Li and her husband forbade me from going to school and reading books, while Xieli attended an international school with a modular class system. Everyone could choose courses independently, and roll call was taken in every class. This was a precious opportunity for me. I pretended to be hesitant and nodded, then said to Wang Li, I want to go to the arcade to play games. Wang Li's eyes crinkled into a smile upon hearing this. Children should have fun like this. Do you have enough money? Aunt Zhang will give you some more. People in the live streaming room scolded one after another. She knows about arcades at such a young age. She's really hopeless. This is her own choice. Human nature is inherently evil. I buried my head deeply and then smiled faintly with a curl of my lips. Every morning after Xieli and I finished breakfast, we were both sent out. Xieli carried a school bag full of textbooks and test papers, while I carried a school bag filled with snacks and toys. They sneered. One is heading for a bright future, and the other is going to ruin her life. But they didn't know that in the corner at the school gate, we would secretly exchange our school bags. I went to class while she went to play games with hooligans. In fact, with my poor foundation, I could hardly keep up with the courses at the international school. However, such a smart and progressive learning environment was what I had always dreamed of. Even though I was still a bit confused, I was eager not to fall behind. I tried my best to memorize and understand every single word the teacher said. At first, I was terrified of being discovered since I was taking classes in Xieli's place. However, I soon realized that the teachers here didn't really care who you were. As long as you were willing to learn, they were willing to teach. I finally felt at ease. 2 days later, Miss Zhao, the English teacher, suddenly called me to her office. She stared at me, head bowed, and came straight to the point. You're not Xieli, are you? I tried to remain calm and said I was. I really didn't want to give up this precious opportunity to study. If this were exposed, I'd have to leave dejectedly, and I was filled with unwillingness. But Miss Zhao smiled gently. Although I may not know every student in class by name, I can sense that most of them are tired and slack. Yet you stand out. Sitting up straight, your eyes brimming with eagerness, you're like a little firefly in the dark night. I looked up at her. There was a warm smile in her eyes, no blame, no anger, just gentle regard. It was as if I'd been struck, and in a daze I could vaguely envision what I would be like when I grew up. She continued, I won't inquire into what's going on. Everyone makes their own choices. Once you've chosen this path, don't give up easily. I took a deep breath and nodded firmly. That night I stayed up with the light on, striving to improve my basic knowledge, learning words one by one. Xieli was only too happy to be idle and dumped all her homework on me. I heard footsteps outside the door and Wang Li's voice in advance. Why is the light still on so late? What are you doing, Qi Hui? I quickly stuffed all my books into the drawer and took out my phone and tablet. When Wang Li opened the door, I was intensely focused on a game, my eyes bloodshot. Hit him. Hit him. What a coward. Can't even keep up. She curved her lips. Qi Hui is really good at games. Such a talented child. Then she turned to scold Xieli with a stern face. You never think about studying. All you do is sleep all day. Xieli gritted her teeth and remained silent. As soon as Wang Li left, she threw the bedside lamp at me. Why does Mom smile at you and praise you? All she does is scold me. You stole Mom's love. You should die. This room originally belonged to Xieli, and they lived in a spacious villa. But to show how much they valued and cultivated me, they deliberately had me share a room with Xieli. Since then, Xieli had resented me and also harbored bitterness towards her parents for their favoritism. However, she didn't appreciate her good fortune, thinking that games and snacks were the greatest forms of indulgence. In fact, they were like sugar-coated bullets that could destroy a person. The lamp hit my forehead and blood trickled down. Xieli was startled. Are you okay? I didn't use that much force. So delicate. Hurry up and wipe the blood off and say you bumped into something. I did as she said. Her gaze grew increasingly complex, shifting from fear to excitement. I was gradually lowering her moral Dishan, nurturing a demon. The next day during breakfast, Wang Li started a live stream again. A plate of braised pork and picchodzi was placed in front of me, while shrimp rice noodles and porridge were served to Xieli. Viewers in the live stream room were puzzled. Why does it seem like Bailu has lost a lot of weight? Lily seems to have gained some. Bailu is actually quite good looking. Her eyes are so lively. Doesn't anyone else think it's strange to serve her such greasy food for breakfast? Wang Li clearly noticed this too and became furious. Don't you like this meat? Why aren't you eating? Hurry up. I said timidly. I've had a stomachache these past few days. I'll eat more once I feel better. Her expression softened a bit. That's good. I'm good to you, so you'd better be sensible. There was ice in my eyes. I would never again become the overweight person with sky-high blood sugar and cholesterol like in my previous life. I ran to school every day, did aerobics on the playground during breaks, and skipped rope 2,000 times a day. In the sunlight, my sweat glistened. I gulped down water and lay on the grass, stretching my arms. These were the arms of a slender teenage girl. I had not only lost all the weight I'd gained but also built a strong physique. In class, I took notes carefully and practiced spoken English hard. In Miss Zhao's class, I could understand more and more. When there were things I didn't understand, I'd ask her after class. She was a young teacher who had graduated with a master's degree from a top domestic university and was still considering pursuing a PhD abroad. We became closer and closer. She told me about life in university, which was exactly the future I yearned for. Meanwhile, Xieli became more and more indulgent, her temper grew worse, and she would lash out at others at the slightest provocation, showing no respect for anyone. Her demand for money also increased. My pocket money wasn't enough for her. She wanted me to find ways to get more money for her. A year passed like this and soon they would send me back to the mountains. I closed my eyes, determined to change everything. One day after school, Xieli and I exchanged our school bags and walked home together. I reminded her that she smelled strongly of cigarettes. She irritably changed her clothes with me, but when we got home it was already too late. As soon as we reached the door, I saw Wang Li live streaming, and the comments in the live stream room were filled with hostility. Is Bailu inherently bad? She's like a primitive from the mountains. So disgusting. This experiment really shows the reality, exposing human ugliness clearly. Wang Li looked down at me, a hint of triumph in her eyes. Qi Hui, you've been up to no good outside, haven't you? Someone came to our house to demand repayment, saying you borrowed money everywhere to buy cigarettes and alcohol, and even treated others in internet cafes. How old are you? Already acting like a hooligan. Only then did I notice a man with yellow hair on the sofa, looking unruly. He was the one who came to complain. Before I could say anything, Wang Li slapped me to the ground. I brought you here from the mountains to live a good life. I gave you everything you wanted, but it's no match for your inferior nature. I'm so disappointed. You're rotten to the core. I was stunned and the comments were all saying she did the right thing. But I just grinned. Be proud now. Soon it'll be your turn to cry. Sure enough, the man with yellow hair jumped up from the sofa, looking shocked. What are you hitting her for? You're more unreasonable than me. It was Xieli next to her who borrowed money to buy cigarettes. Wang Li and the viewers in the livestream room were all shocked. Xieli's face turned ugly. She stepped forward and grabbed the man's hair. Who the hell told you to come to my house? Didn't I say I'd pay you back soon? What's your motive? This unruly scene was live-streamed, and the comments scrolled by rapidly. Is this still my kind little angel Lily? She's so fat and ugly now. I can hardly recognize her. Has she been possessed by a hooligan? Wang Li quickly ended the live stream. Things had not gone as she expected. She'd intended to humiliate me in front of everyone, but instead, her own daughter was the one humiliated. She was trembling with anger. After paying off the man with money, she took Xieli into the study. I quietly opened the door. Outside stood the man with yellow hair, who had seemingly left earlier. I placed a stack of cash in his hand. Well done. He excitedly counted the money. Find me for jobs like this in the future. I smiled. Of course. I hadn't deliberately led Xieli astray. I just happened to learn that she owed money to some hooligans and decided to expose it. If I hadn't at the same juncture as in my previous life, they would still send me back to the mountains. As an underage orphan, my future would be bleak. I was just trying to save myself. At that moment, Wang Li opened the study door with a dark expression and called me in. I saw Xieli kneeling on the floor of the study, with a wooden ruler beside her. She looked dispirited with tears in her eyes, but beneath that, I could still sense her resentment and hatred. I was satisfied with her reaction. Wang Li grabbed my arm and said sarcastically, "So it's been you attending school all this year. I really underestimated you. I let a wolf into the house. After pretending to be a timid little thing for so long, there's no need to keep up the act. You like conducting human nature experiments? Well, your daughter is a perfect example. Do you like the gift I gave you?" Wang Li's expression changed immediately. So you knew all along. It must have been hard for you to keep up the act. Since things have come to this, there's no point in continuing this experiment. I'll send you back to the mountains tomorrow. You came from the countryside, and that's where you belong. My heart was pounding. I looked at Xieli. The success of my plan depended on her, and she didn't disappoint me. She suddenly started kowtowing vigorously. "Mom, you can't send this little wretch away." Wang Li looked at her in confusion. I smiled subtly. "That's right. Keep me here." Xieli was crying profusely. "I haven't attended classes all year. And Mom, don't you remember? I'm about to take the primary to junior high school entrance exam. I won't pass. We have to keep Bailu. She studied hard this year. Let her take the exam for me. After I get into a key middle school, you can send her away." Wang Li narrowed her eyes, looked at me intently, then raised her head with a look of disdain. She sneered. "Fine, if that's what you think is best. Let Bailu take the exam for you." I lowered my eyes and smiled inwardly, my expression remaining unchanged. They didn't know that a week ago, I'd knocked on Miss Zhao's office door and told her everything. She was shocked when she searched for the live stream online. This is a heartless game played by the rich. Wang Li's so-called educational experiment is just a gimmicky money-making trap. She was furious. "Chi Hui, how can I help you?" I said tearfully. "I want my own exam registration. I want to take the exam under the name Bailu." I was confined to my room. Wang Li sent me 3 meals on time, all nutritious dishes like fish, shrimp, which were good for relieving fatigue, and nuts like pine nuts and walnuts to boost memory and nourish the brain. The desk was piled high with thick exercise books and mock exam papers. Wang Li wouldn't allow anyone to disturb me. She was confident. "Bailu, don't try any tricks. You're an orphan with no parents. I can do whatever I want with you. Be sensible and study hard during this time. Take the exam and get into a good school for Lily, or I can get rid of you and no one will care." Got it. I was actually grateful to her in my heart. Thank you for creating such a great study environment for me, allowing me to make a leap forward in life. Xieli was smug. "What's the use of all your efforts? You're just working for me. You're like a poor little loach, struggling but never able to escape that small puddle." I looked at her mockingly. "You've been forced back to school, right? How is it? Boring. Do you have a craving for cigarettes?" "No. I think you're the one who's really Kurlan. You're in Wang Li's control, but she's your biological mother. Why doesn't she love you at all?" Xieli screamed and threw a book at me. "Shut up. Shut up. It's none of your business." She'd lost her composure. The one who panicked first was the loser. When Wang Li heard her screaming, she called her over sternly and spanked her palm. Wang Li was strict with Jia Zhao. She wanted to mold Xieli into her ideal daughter, but under my provocation, the rift between them grew wider. Just look at Xieli. After being spanked, she stared at Wang Li's back with hatred, more like looking at an enemy than her own mother. I watched this drama with a smile, and then buried myself in my studies. My foundation had been solidified over the past year, and now I wanted to learn as much as possible. A month later, the exam day arrived. Wang Li put a mask on me and stuffed Xieli's exam admission ticket into my hand. "I've taken care of everything. Once you get to the exam venue, don't say a word. Just finish the exam quietly, and your task will be done." "Got it." I nodded. After going out, I took off the mask and looked at myself in the corridor mirror. The girl in the mirror had a high ponytail, a tall and slender figure, and a confident expression. This was a new me, a me that had never existed in my previous life. My heart was filled with excitement. I took out the exam admission ticket Miss Zhao had prepared for me. On it was written my name, Bailu. The primary to junior high school entrance exam was not overly difficult, and could be completed in one day. The exam hall was packed with people, but only a handful would be admitted to City No. 1 Middle School. They say that getting into City No. 1 Middle School is like getting 1 foot into Tsinghua or Peking University. I don't have overly high demands on myself. As long as I can go to school, I can find a way to stay in this city and live my own life. I'm an orphan from the mountains, a victim who has died once. My mind is far more mature than that of my peers. I have to take my life into my own hands. After the exam, Wang Li secretly and hurriedly took me back. They asked me how I did in the exam. I smiled and said I did well. Xieli was excited. Great. Now I can get into number 1 middle school. Wang Li was also in a good mood. When a relative called to ask how Xieli did in the exam, she couldn't hide her pride. She casually said that Lily was sure to get into number 1 middle school. The relative immediately praised Xieli for her intelligence, and also complimented Wang Li for her good education. Wang Li was so proud that she was almost preening. Xieli looked at me maliciously. Mom, the exam is over. Send this little bastard back to the countryside. Just looking at her makes me angry. Wang Li's eyes sparkled with excitement. Don't be in a hurry. Wait a while. I'll live stream the scene of you getting into number 1 middle school. Then I'll prove that my education is the best. This was an unexpected bonus for me. I calmly watched them dancing with joy, looking forward to that day. About 10 days later, a teacher from the admissions office called and said he would come to visit the student who got into number 1 middle school. Wang Li was so shocked that she dropped the phone. Really? She got in? Really? She was on high alert and asked the nanny to clean every corner of the house spotless. Then she called a designer to come and give Xieli an exquisite look. The designer also put on light makeup for Xieli, styled her hair, and dressed her in a complicated princess dress. I was wearing simple clothes and sat on the sofa indifferently. Lily couldn't wait and started the live stream in advance. The live stream room was bustling. Lily is so amazing. Although she took a few wrong turns before, it turns out she's a genius. Teacher Zhang's teaching ability is so strong. I admire her. Doesn't anyone think Lily looks ugly with all that effort? She's so fat that the princess dress is almost bursting. And Bailu has become so beautiful. The ones from the admissions office were an old gentleman and a middle-aged lady. Miss Zhao was with them. When I saw Miss Zhao, my eyes lit up. She smiled at me. The middle-aged lady congratulated Wang Li. Wang Li was overjoyed and pulled Xieli in front of her. To cultivate my daughter, I've been educating her full-time since she was a child. I've invested over $1 million in her education. Heaven rewards the diligent. She got into number 1 middle school. Lily will definitely be the pride of number 1 middle school in the future. The smiling teachers were stunned. The old gentleman carefully said, Ms. Wang, are you mistaken? The one who got into number 1 middle school is this classmate, Qi Hui. I stood up, walked in front of them and bowed respectfully. The old gentleman took my hand. Good child, you've been through a lot. You did very well on the exam. The live stream room exploded. Countless people flooded in to watch this scene. Everyone was shocked. They all despised me. The one from the countryside got into number 1 middle school, which they regarded as the top school. They filled the screen with comments. One person even said, I told you Qi Hui is beautiful and capable. I've been optimistic about her for a long time. Wang Li and Xieli stood there stunned. Their excited expressions froze on their faces, looking like two clowns. Xieli reacted first. She had become so irritable and violent. She rushed up and tried to scratch my face. How is this possible? She took the exam for me. I should be the one getting into number 1 middle school. Give it back to me. Everyone then knew the truth and sneered at her and Wang Li. So this is the so-called education? Finding someone to take the exam. Wang Li, who had been praised to the skies, was now thrown into the mud. She forced an unkind smile and said, Are you mistaken? My daughter Xieli is the most excellent one. Bailu is just a hooligan. The old gentleman rescued me from Xieli and snorted. Who is the hooligan and who is the pearl? It's obvious now. Xieli was disheveled and crazy, tearing at me and cursing. I looked at her coldly and was polite to everyone present. Wang Li couldn't hold it in anymore. She grabbed her hair in doubt and suddenly realized and tried to end the live stream, but the live stream room was already in an uproar. This scene was seen by countless people. Wang Li was nailed to the pillar of shame and became a laughingstock in the education field. In her previous life she became famous for this, but in this life she was destroyed by this show. Xieli went crazy and was locked in the study by Wang Li to calm down, and Wang Li herself also needed to calm down. That night when I went out to use the toilet, I saw that the light in their bedroom was still on. Wang Li and her husband Xieguoqiang were talking. Xieguoqiang was usually busy with business and rarely came back, but he was involved in this plan with Wang Li. Wang Li's voice was full of helplessness. Husband, what should we do now? Xieguoqiang pondered. Although she's been ruined, she's a failure. Wang Li said Tongku Ly. Do you mean we should play along and officially adopt Qi Hui? Then we can take all the credit for her excellence, and Qi Hui will be grateful to us. The netizens will also change their impression of us. Hearing this I couldn't help but laugh. The Wang Li couple thought they were something special, and I would be grateful to them. I would only make them suffer. The next day, Wang Li had the nerve to bring me breakfast. I took a look. There was milk and egg oatmeal porridge, steamed buns, and fruit salad. Qi Hui, I specially prepared this nutritious breakfast for you. Try it and see if it suits your taste. I scooped a spoonful of porridge and lazily said, It's quite good. It's much better than the braised pork before. Wang Li forced a laugh, and there was a hint of gloom in her eyes. After breakfast she wanted to take me shopping. She affectionately took my arm. When we went to the music store there were guitars of all kinds on the wall and different pianos. She said cautiously, Qi Hui, Auntie wants to buy you a piano. Which one do you like? I sneered. Didn't you like it when I played games? What's the point of playing the piano? The people in the music store pursed their lips and smiled. Wang Li gritted her teeth but finally forced a smile. In the end, she still bought a piano and had it sent home. The ragdoll cat in the house stepped on the piano and made a series of discordant sounds. Wang Li was so angry that her face twisted. She cursed the cat. What the hell are you? You don't know what's good for you. I knew she was speaking indirectly at me. Even though the Wang Li couple put on a good show, they were rotten to the core. I picked up the cat and nestled on the sofa, stroking the cat. Wang Li went to the kitchen and cut a fruit plate. Then she came over with an ingratiating smile. Qi Hui, we were wrong about what happened before. We don't want that little slut Cieli anymore. Please calm down. Then she took out a bank card. This is the pocket money for your vacation from me and Uncle Zhao. You can buy some clothes and books. I continued to stroke the cat and ignored her. She stood there holding the bank card, not knowing what to do. I turned my head and saw that the door of the study was open a crack, and a pair of eyes was staring at us. I felt a chill down my spine. In the following days, Wang Li tried her best to please me. I felt that even if I asked for the stars in the sky, she would immediately build a ladder to pick them for me. But I guessed that she was cursing me in her heart. When the school held a commendation meeting, Wang Li had that familiar confident smile on her face. Xie Guoqiang also attended the meeting, which was held in the school's activity center. The parents present had various expressions, some happy, some worried. When I went on stage to receive the award and give a speech, Wang Li and her husband suddenly came on stage looking proud. Xie Guoqiang said into the microphone, "Today we want to announce a happy event." Wang Li smiled and continued, "We're going to officially adopt Qi Hui." Wang Li was moved by her own words. She said that they brought me out of the mountains and that all my achievements were due to them. Before she could finish, I snatched the microphone. "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't randomly claim a child. Who said I want to be your adopted daughter? You have the nerve to take all the credit. Why don't you say you built a rocket?" The parents in the audience laughed. Wang Li and Xie Guoqiang blushed. Wang Li suppressed her anger. "Without us, you wouldn't be able to survive. Getting into #1 middle school is just an empty promise. Don't be too arrogant. Sooner or later, you'll kneel and beg us." I sneered and didn't say anything. A voice came from backstage. "My daughter doesn't need to beg you." Miss Zhao walked onto the stage and hugged me. She didn't show any weakness. I smiled and said, "Yes, I completed the adoption procedures with Miss Zhao some time ago. Now we're a legitimate mother and daughter." The parents in the audience jeered at Wang Li and her husband. "Go down. Don't embarrass yourselves anymore." The two of them looked at each other and then left the stage in a hurry, looking like two embarrassed mice. When the new school year arrived, I didn't go to #1 middle school. Miss Zhao was going to Canada to pursue a PhD, and I went abroad with her. It was my first time taking a plane. When it took off and soared into the sky, I felt that all the bad things I had experienced before were left behind. I felt refreshed like never before. In foreign countries, the middle school education model was different from that in China, but I was young and quickly adapted. Miss Zhao's academic career was going smoothly. She taught me what true feminism is, telling me to stand on the stage with grace and bravely defend my rights. She said, "You've done very well before, and you'll do even better in the future." A year later, we returned to China. Miss Zhao hadn't changed much, but I, in my adolescence, had completely transformed. My features had matured, I had grown taller, and my temperament had changed. By accident, I heard the news about Wang Li and her husband. I bought 3 bouquets of chrysanthemums and went to their graves. I never expected that when we met again, we were separated by life and death. After I left, Cieli was locked in the house by them for a long time. She had a wild and unruly personality, and the repeated suppression and control drove her crazy. One night, Cieli sneaked out of the study, went to the kitchen and stole a fruit knife. From the surveillance, I saw that Cieli stood in front of her parents' bed for a long time and said something, but it was not clear what she said. The next moment, she mercilessly attacked them. I wondered what Cieli had said. "You were the most pinching of parents. You turned me into this. Or maybe, when you're dead, we can be together forever." The end.